we're going to start with the Indiana Pacers, who I think in the words of Oladipo, they deserved respect and they got respect. Yes, they lost. And look, in hindsight, they probably should have won because they'll be ruining that Game 5 stretch, which we talked about in the fourth, where their offense just fell apart. Yeah. They had a really good chance to win that game and go up 3-2. They didn't. They would have then had a chance to close it out at home, which we know how emphatic they were in Game 6. And then in Game 7, as we said, LeBron had to go back to the locker room and they actually gave the Cavs a lead while he wasn't there. Kevin Love did something, which is a rarity at the moment. And he hit a couple of, I think he hit 2 threes and they hit a couple of shots and they kind of built that 8 to 10 point buffer, which they managed to hold on to. But despite the loss, this season's got to be an overwhelming success.
If you look at the start of the season, everyone thought that they got robbed with the Paul George trade, but they ended up building a star.
Probably winning it.
Yeah, with Oladipo. So if you looked at the start, I didn't think they would have made the playoffs. So I would say their season was a success. Yeah,
big success. Considering as well, they finished 48 and 34, which is 6 more games than they won last year with Paul George. And then last year's Pacers got swept by the Cavs in the first round, whether this year went to 7 and probably should have won. And they've done that all despite losing 3 of their top 5 scorers from last season in Paul George, Jeff Teague, and a great bench or role player in CJ Myles. So I think, and on top of that, they own all their future first-round picks. They have quite a bit of cap space, but how did they get people to come to Indiana? Because it's not necessarily the most sought-after free agent destination.
I think the selling point is almost like, I think this was never the year for Indiana to make the playoffs.
Well, they surprised everyone.
They surprised everybody, but I think you're looking at Boston and Philadelphia as two teams that were looking to the future. They're going to dominate the Eastern Conference. You almost got to say we're going to be the challengers to those teams. Them, yeah. Like we're going to be that team that's going to surprise everyone. We're going to be the team that that goes against Boston, goes against Philadelphia, and really gives them a run for their money to make the finals. So I think that'll bring players in. They just want to be a part of that. When Philadelphia, Boston have roster spots, they're going to be like, well, what team can I go to that's going to be a challenger and really going to play good basketball? And that's probably Indiana.
Yeah, even if they might not be able to get an A-grade level talent like a LeBron or a Kawhi if we're going to next year, or a Klay Thompson, but even someone like an Aaron Gordon, someone who's just underneath that all-star level who can complement Victor, because that's where they started to have some issues in that series when they were double-teaming Oladipo, taking the ball out of his hands, and you're making Lance Stevenson
ordinary.
Create plays. It's a bit risky and it's not a formula for lasting success in the playoffs. The last question for the Pacers, Myles Turner, what do they do with him? Because he looked, the year before this year, it was kind of his breakout season.
Yeah,
he looked
like he was...
After Paul George left, the main trend was this is now Myles Turner's team, which clearly it's not now, and he had a down year.
Arrived.
So he is up for a contract extension this offseason. If you're the Pacers, do you want Myles Turner to be part of your future, or would you look to ship him off for assets?
How old is he?
He's still only 22. I think it's his 3rd year. This was his 3rd year, or 2nd or 3rd year. So he's still really young.
If you can re-sign him on the cheap, I say you go for it. I don't think you're going to flip him for a great deal at the moment compared to, say, last year. But, I say hold on to him.
Yeah. He's 22 years old.
22. And he averaged 14.5 points in the year before. This year he averaged 12.7. His boards were down. He played less minutes and had a couple of less shots, which was obviously the Oladipo effect. Yeah. But even in that playoff series, he had some good moments, but then he had a few games where he just kind of was there, wasn't really impacting.
He just didn't look like he was going to
He's a confusing one.
I think you almost have to, I don't know what his contract's like at the moment, if he's still his rookie contract, but you almost have to look at just giving him another year or so.
Just to see what he can become.
Just to see how he develops. And if he does develop into a guy you want as your starting center heading forward, then you hold on to him. If you don't, you trade him away. You sign and trade in free agency. You find a way to get rid of him. But
obviously after the 18-19 season, he's uncontracted.
Yeah, so that'll be the big question. Obviously, it is a bit risky in terms of if you do contract him and put your faith in him and he doesn't turn out to be what you think he can be, you've then lost that value which you could have got. Because right now, he still has quite a bit of value because he's that mystery potential.
Yeah.
Well, because they can throw a qualifying offer. I'm just looking now. They can throw a qualifying offer for the 2019-2020 season of $4.5 million, which he won't take because he will get more money than that.
Yep.
But you're going to have to think about like throwing that offer and just kind of like having it sit there and.
Yep, and they've also got questions if you're going to re-sign the likes of Bogdanovic, Collis, and those kind of guys. But overall, big tick for Indiana.